Companies don't want you to design your fancy UIs inspired by Dribble anymore. They want you to think in systems, be efficient, and create designs that are reusable, optimized, and work for a wide range of users. With that in mind, we will look at how Figma variables can do just that for your next design project. You'll discover how variables can change your design workflow completely and how to apply that. In this video, I'm going to show you in depth how to name your colors, how to create an effective design system strategy, and get you in the right mindset when creating design systems with Figma variables. So first, let's talk about what Figma variables are exactly. Essentially, they are shortcuts for your design elements, allowing you to store and reuse specific values such as colors, numbers, strings, and boolean across your designs. Imagine you are designing a series of screen prototypes, so rather than manually adjusting the interface element individually, Figma variables will let you update them in one single go, so you can maintain some uniformity across your entire project. Now you might wonder why opt for variables when you have already styles within Figma. And well, while styles are excellent for consistent applications, variables will bring in another layer of flexibility. So they're not just about consistent aesthetics, but also about building dynamic relationships between your design elements. And let's take, for example, 3 scenarios here. So I have this snapshot that shows theme change, a mode change, and density change. So one benefit of using variables and the concept of tokenization will be theme change. Now that can apply to different scenarios, like imagine accessibility, where you need to improve the color for specific people with disabilities. Maybe they perceive colors in a different way and you need to adjust that. That will allow you to quickly swap the prototype within Figma to a different theme change, or maybe just want something that will give more contrast to the user, so you want to allow that personalization within your designs. Another case might be for mode. Obviously that's pretty straightforward between light and dark, but you might have other things, maybe seasonal mode. Obviously that might actually work more with themes, but you get the point with mode. Mainly the main use case will be light and dark modes. And then you have something about density. So I mentioned Figma will allow you to apply number variables, and numbers can be used within your prototype when you adjust the margins, the spacing between elements. You can quickly swap between density. And thinking about accessibility, maybe some people want the interface to allow more spacing between elements for easily to be easily readable. So these are 3 main use cases for variables. Obviously there might be more. As I mentioned, it can be something seasonal, but I want to cover another concept before we dive right in. The idea of having a tire structure to your elements. And here I took 2 snapshots from different guides on the internet. I did some research when I initially learned, and I found these 2 snapshots to be quite valuable when designing variables or any sort of design system for an application. Value will be at the base, which is in our case the hex code, and then we have things that are global tokens, we have alias and component tokens. We don't want in this example, we don't want to make it too complex, so we'll stick to the first 3 levels. So where we have value, we have global tokens and alias tokens. Alias tokens are already part of a tokenization where we set the name a bit more specific than just a color palette. We might have blue 50 here, right? We might have something like a primary background, right? That gets allocated, that gets assigned the value of blue 50. Now blue 50 obviously holds a value. Instead of changing manually, we can change them in one go. So that's like the main value of using variables. It will allow more flexibility and more control to you as a designer, and obviously make the collaboration a bit easier. Cool. Now, what we're gonna do next? I have prepared the nap screen, which by the way is available in the link in the description. So if you want to download the working files and we can progress together, yeah, feel free to download that. It's available in the link. So I have here a base template for colors. There's no values at the moment, so I'm quickly gonna fill this up and I'll tell you how to do that on your own. So you might have your own screen here. You don't have to download this anyway, but in case you really want to keep the styles nice and clean and organized within the auto layout, you can again download the template and just replace this screen with yours. It's up to you. But again, this is auto layout. You can have different shades of that color palette. You can copy and paste and it gets automatically updated. So I made it to be really simple for you to edit. The way we're gonna fill this up is we're gonna start probably with defining the base color, which is in the middle. We named it 500, and that's so this is called primitives for us, and we're gonna create a collection for it very soon, a variables collection. So I'm gonna use the background that I have here as the base color. So I'm gonna populate that here, and I'm gonna name this one. I'm gonna add the hex value. For 100, I'm gonna make it white, which I've used it for the arrows on the buttons. So I'm gonna make that white. Same thing here. And then for the 300, I have a different shade for the surface. So I'm going to copy that as well here. Same thing I'm gonna do here. And then I have the 700 and the 900. Probably for 900, I could use this one. That's slightly darker. And then for the 700, I don't think I have anything else to use within my design, so I can use this the same as 900, and I can adjust maybe the value to make it a bit lighter actually, and I can probably bring this. So I don't want to change the hue. Eventually the luminance, I wanna increase that. Or maybe we can start from this, and I'll show you another way how you can define your color palettes in case you're struggling to use these values. So let's try to adjust it manually. If we cannot, we're gonna try a different solution. So I think that's pretty good for now. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can adjust it later on. That's why we use variables. But let's say you want to define I don't know, a different color palette for this, and that make it much easier for you. You can find this in the link in the description of this video. So if you paste your hex code here, again I suggest starting from the 500, so the base color that's in the middle, not the lightest, not the darkest, something in the middle, and you press on make tints and shades. That's gonna give you quite a range of colors, so you can copy what you need from here. Again, this might not be the perfect example, but it might work if you start from a color that's a bit more saturated. That works best in that scenario. I'm gonna close that one, and I think we're gonna keep this one as it is. That should work pretty well. Cool. So next thing we're gonna do, before we touch on tokens, on the semantic values, we want to create the variables for this color. So going here on the sidebar and creating well, first let's name this primitives, and we're gonna create a variable and start from primary. And we want to start from 100, right? So we have primary 100, and we have the rest. So let's quickly create this. Cool. So now the colors are set within our variables, just like that. another thing we can do now, we can assign this color. So that's going to be 900. That's going to be 700. That's going to be 500. And then we have 300 here. Last one is 100. I probably didn't explain why I named them from 100 to 900. So the idea is that we start from the lightest shade, which is 100, going up to 900, which is darkest. And that's gonna give us some variety of different colors to use within our user interface. Now, normally you might have even more shades here. So usually you could have 200 just here. You have 100, 200, 300, 400, and so on up to 900 to create a different color, different varieties. You might want to use this for button states or different background shades and so on. So you need this variety. I think I forgot to name this one, but that's all right for now. We can quickly go and copy that from the variables. So 700 is this, and the 900 is this one. Cool. Now that we have that, we might need also the blue here for the buttons, and we should be done. So I'm gonna name this one actually primary. Or we can name it, yeah, I think primary should do. Eventually you can name it brand, or you can have your own naming convention. Let's create quickly the different blue shades with with this one being the darkest. So cool. And let's add this to the variable section. All right, so now the last bit here is to assign this back from the variables. So I'm gonna pick up each color. I'm gonna pick 700. I'm gonna pick this one as 500. Then we have 300 here. And the last one is 100. Now that's pretty much done with that step. We have all the colors available within variables. And now here's probably the most important bit where you might need to, well, this is kind of going to define your design system a bit more. That step before was a bit more simple, right? So it's a bit straightforward. We define color palettes. You play around with the colors, with the themes that you want. But here is about consistency. How do we keep consistency within our applications, within our different components? And how do we name? What is the strategy and the naming convention for all these variables, for spacing, for colors, for all the different elements that we might have. So I took some time to try and identify possible tokens and try to come up with a naming strategy that will make sense within Figma variables. So taking this, for example, I have a header icon, I have a header surface. In this case, I have a button secondary because this is not the primary one. We might want for something else for primary, right? We might want maybe an orange to stand out more. We have a button secondary icon. We have a button secondary surface. Here we have a card with the title, description, surface, and elevation. And here we have background, title, text, and the background, like the entire screen. Cool. So the idea is this is like a draft for me at the moment, and I would like you to try and use ChatGPT to come up with a good naming convention for your for your variables, kind of make the life of other designers within your team easier, and a way to keep consistency across your design elements. So when you look at the token, you know that that needs to be applied to the card titles, same as I have here. So next, if somebody else is going to design another card, they will know that they need to apply this. So they'll not have to think about what they need to apply, right? It definitely takes some of the creativity, but also increases consistency. So the creativity is still gonna stay with the designer of the design system, and they can collaborate with one to another, right? If things that don't work out or there's some feedback, but it allows consistency across different products. So what I want to do next is go into ChatGPT, and I have prepared, again, through link in description, there's a GPT which I worked on and provided with the knowledge base. I tested it intensively, and it will help us to come up with a perfect name strategy for our design system. So let's quickly switch to that, and I'll write the prompt. Cool, so now I use ChatGPT to generate a list of tokens for my design system. Now, what I told the GPT, which, as I said, it's available in the link in description, so you can get the UX Design Product Design Assistant link from the GPT store using the link. And again, it's trained to be specific, to talk in a specific way for designers. It can help you to create concept ideas for your app, start a design process, and it just gonna assist you within your entire design process. And this is one of the examples which I wanted to give you, where I think it's very valuable. I gave it a structure, how it can start and how it should create my names for the tokens. Just very basic. The rest, it kind of did it by itself. And I provided my draft of tokens. So we have on background title, on background text, background card title, and so on. Basically things that I mentioned previously here. And just defined it within a clear structure and within a specific naming convention, so you can document that and not add it to your design system. So what I'm gonna do next is take up these colors one by one, going into variables. And what I wanna create next, so I have here the primitives, and I want to create a new collection and call it I'm just gonna call it tokens. Create a new one and name it color on background title. So by default you can just copy and paste it, enter, and it's gonna add it automatically here. So we can go one by one, and then we can attribute the colors after this. Cool, so I just finished adding all the different tokens within the variables, and I had to do a couple of small amendments from what ChatGPT initially provided. Now obviously you can work more with ChatGPT until you get the perfect naming strategy for your design. In my case, I just prefer to adjust manually a few bits here and there to make more sense. For example, I didn't include the on background anymore. I just kept it background, and within that I have title, text, and surface. I can select the title. I can go to libraries, and I will pick up the secondary 900. If we go to our design, I can select this, and instead of selecting the primitives anymore, we can go directly to tokens, and we can select the color background title, right? So that sits on the background, and that's gonna get the color from the title. We want to do the same thing for the actual background, so that's why I created the surface element. So I can go to libraries and pick up the exact color that I need. That one is probably the 500, the primary 500. So I can go select the screen, and instead of having the hex value, I can look for background surface here. So now that's linked directly to it. In case that changes for some reason, now the creative director wants to update the branding to some sort of blue, so I can go and quickly pick that up. The idea is not that we want to fill up the rest of the elements, pick up the right colors, and that's gonna give us more flexibility and more consistency. So let's do that really quick. Everything is done within the design. All the values are assigned to primitives, so we can see everything for background. We have card, we have header, we have the buttons. There are no more, so you cannot really see any hex values here. Everything is pointing towards the primitives. So if things change here, for example, we want for some reason to change the primary 500 color to something else, everything that's assigned that will get changed. Same thing here, you can see that will get automatically updated. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you found it helpful. There's also a bunch of resources available in the Patreon group for free in the link in description. So please make sure you subscribe to this channel and let me know in the comments what video would you like to see next on this channel. So I'll see you into the next video.